What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the MME YouTube channel, where we're here to guide, facilitate, and educate you on your holistic wellness journey. My name is Tyler Egan, and I will be your wellness mentor and educator for today's video. And in today's video, we're gonna be discussing our mental faculties, the mental faculties of these amazing, yet confusing, yet very strange minds. Before we dive deep into that, if you guys take anything from this video, if you like the content we're putting out there, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. With that out of the way, let's dive into it. Let's discuss our mental faculties. Mental Faculties 101. And we're gonna start this discussion highlighting a few definitions so that we're all on the same page. So the first one is going to be mental faculties. What are they? Our mental faculties are our cognitive abilities, the cognitive abilities of the human mind. Just like a basketball player needs to have the ability to shoot and dribble and layup, I guess would be a part of shooting. A topic for a different day. This isn't a basketball video. Just like a basketball player needs to have these specific skill sets, these specific abilities, our minds have specific abilities, and these specific abilities, these mental faculties, are our skills, mental skills that we can refine and tune and work on to cultivate, ultimately to help expand our awareness, help expand our consciousness. Through the refinement of our mental faculties, we can expand our consciousness. That'll make more sense as we dive deeper into the specific mental faculties. The other thing I just wanted to quickly define consciousness. Now, there's probably like hour-long videos out there, so I'm not gonna go crazy into what consciousness is. I wanna narrow it down and put it into a very simple way of looking at it, just for the context of this video. And that is, consciousness is the awareness of our existence. Now, consciousness is literally everything and anything, but consciousness, for this video's purpose, is the awareness of one's own existence. So me, Tyler Egan, and my awareness of who Tyler Egan is, my awareness of my ego, its patterns, my emotional traumas and my emotional patterns, my own thought processes, the awareness of these things without always becoming entangled within them, to know thyself, right? Awareness of your existence. And again, with that in mind, these mental faculties and the refinement and the tuning and the working on these mental faculties allows us to expand our consciousness more and more, understand ourselves more and more, know our patterns more and more, heal these parts of ourselves more and more, right? Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive into it. We're gonna discuss the 6 mental faculties. I'm gonna give you a brief overview of them, and then we'll dive deeper into each one of them. But first, we hydrate. Cheers. Okay, so let's start from the top. And the first mental faculty I want to discuss is willpower. The will enables us to make choices and initiate actions. It enables us to make choices and initiate actions based on our intentions and based on our determination. So it enables us to make choices and initiate actions based off of our intentions, why you're doing something, and your determination, your ability to see it through. Next one is our imagination. And as I say this, I think of SpongeBob. Imagination. It's kind of like that, but I'm not gonna make a rainbow appear. Although if I had a good editor, I would have them put one up. Anyway, I digress. I'm the editor and I don't edit anything. It doesn't matter. Imagination is our ability to form mental thoughts, mental pictures, mental concepts within the mind that are not perceived or go beyond our 5 senses, right? So if you talk about like a visualization practice, if you're doing some type of visualization of like your future reality, that goes beyond the perception of your 5 senses, right? So the ability to conjure up, to form mental images that go beyond the perception of our 5 senses. Next up, our memory is the capacity to encode, store, and retrieve information and experiences from the past. So it is our capacity to encode, store, and retrieve information / experiences from our past, right? Number 4, intuition. Our intuition is our ability to know or understand something without intellectual reasoning. It's our ability to know or understand something without intellectual reasoning. Number 5, perception. Our perception is the process of interpreting sensory information to understand how to interact with the environment. So it's the process of us interpreting information from our five senses. So what the touch was like, what the taste was like, what the smell was like, and then interact with our environment and understand how to interact our environment. And the last mental faculty, reason or reasoning. Reason is the ability to think logically, analyze, and form opinions based on rational thought. Okay, so it's our ability to think logically, analyze, and form opinions based on rational thought. So let's take a deeper dive into these, because like, what could these mean on a little bit deeper of a level? Like, what do they look like in the real world? And how can we begin to harness these? So let's start with will. Okay, so we're backtracking to will. Or willpower, you can enable choices and initiate actions based off of your intentions and your determination, right? So if you want to start going to the gym because you want to be healthy, your intention is to be healthier. Your intention is to thrive and live a long life, right? So if your determination, right? So it's like in a math equation. It's intention plus determination equals the amount of will you have. So if your intention is pure, it's what you want. I want to be healthier. Cool. Your determination. How determined are you to do it? Because that's going to lead to how much will you're going to be able to harness and use to take that next action, right? But if your intentions and your determination aren't strong enough, you have to begin refining those. So maybe instead of an hour-long workout, you do a 5-minute movement session. Instead of an hour-long workout, you do a 5-minute walk. You start smaller because maybe your intention and your determination behind why you want to begin to go to the gym or why you want to get healthier aren't strong enough yet. So you start to work them, right? You start to cultivate more willpower. You cultivate your ability to consciously harness your willpower. And sometimes that begins with like a 5-minute movement session, a 5-minute walk before an hour-long workout. And you slowly compound the habit of cultivating your will. Imagination, the next one. Imagination is a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing because we can begin to visualize our future. We can even get lost in our imaginations in like a fantasy land where we're imagining everybody is doing these things for us, where everybody is meeting our needs for us, right? Like we see the movies, we see how things are in the movies, and we begin to imagine our world if our life was like that. You can use your imagination for so many things. And Neville Goddard is the author of so many books, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but he discusses how you can use your imagination to manifest the reality you want. By imagining the life you want and then embodying the feelings, you can harness the power of your imagination to manifest your reality. The kicker to this is the intent behind it. It's the same thing as will. It's the intent behind it. And are you consciously using your imagination, or are you getting lost in unconscious patterns with your imagination? So let's revert back to imagination in its definition, right? The ability to form mental pictures. If the mental pictures that you are constantly conjuring up are that of you worrying all the time and visualizing future realities where things don't go your way. You're conjuring up what everybody's gonna think about you and the mental imagery that may go with that if you do X, Y, Z thing. And I'll use myself as an example for that very thing right there. When I first started creating content, I used to worry about what everybody was judging me or how everybody would judge me. And so I'm using my imagination. At the time, it was an unconscious pattern, but I was using my imagination to put judgment out there into the world. And so now my imagination is centered around people judging me. And that is what I attracted. I would get trolls and haters on my videos and all the different things, right? So just like will, imagination, all of these really are skills. These are internal skills. These are mental skills, mental faculties that we can refine and work and learn how to harness the power of them. We have to begin to gain control, consciousness over them, right? So that's where I come back to the definition of consciousness. Through the lens of your imagination, are you consciously choosing to create new mental imagery based off the reality that you want to live? and what feels like it's in alignment with your heart and your soul? Or are you using your imagination? And this is not to shame anybody. There's nothing wrong with this. I very much do this myself, and I'm sure many people hopefully would that they do too. Or are you unconsciously using your imagination to consistently come back to the same patterns? Based off of the next one, our memory. So we'll use our memory, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. A lot of the time this may be an unconscious thing, where we'll use our memory to retrieve information from past experiences to avoid getting hurt. We will use our memory to retrieve information from past experiences to avoid getting hurt. And we'll do that in our imagination. So we'll imagine everybody judging us. We'll imagine everybody making fun of us and use that to keep us stuck in this pattern when we really feel called to post a video, when we really feel called to say that thing to that person, when we really feel called to do that thing that feels so expansive to our being, but our memory kicks in, it pulls that past experience, that information from the past experience, applies it to the imagination. We're then putting judgment or whatever your thing is out there, worry, concern. And now these mental faculties, instead of working for us, are fighting against us. And when I say fighting against us, I mean fighting against the higher part of us that is calling us to grow, that is calling us to expand, that is calling us to step into our spiritual sovereignty, that is calling us to step into our authenticity, right? So we have to work on refining these. So bring consciousness to it, bring awareness to the moment. When your mind is starting to pull up these memories from the past, can you just notice it and sit with it? Maybe you write it down. Sometimes using the body to get that information out of your mind and onto a piece of paper to see it. Like, I'm thinking about judgment. I'm feeling judged right now. And I'm actually thinking about that one time Susie made fun of me because my pants fell down in 3rd grade. This never actually happened to me. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe there was a Susie out there. So now your memory is actually pulling the judgment from that specific experience of yours and applying it to the situation. This is all an unconscious pattern until you bring consciousness to it, right? Coming back to my definition of consciousness from the beginning of this video, awareness of our existence. Part of your existence is the memories that your mind is pulling up, right? Part of your existence is what you are imagining. If you're getting lost in fantasy, or if you are intentionally visualizing the future you want, you're intentionally visualizing an outcome you want. You're intentionally visualizing a new way for you to be and move throughout the world. Okay, so all of these mental faculties are beautiful, amazing things. But when we do not learn how to harness them, and let me be perfectly clear about this, we do not learn this in school. You probably don't really learn this in college. I dropped out 3 times. This is something you have to, if you're here, you understand this, you're learning it through this video, and then learn how to refine them through practices. You can hire coaches and people to help you with this, but ultimately it comes down to you putting in the work and following the guidance from source, because it will guide you to a place where you can learn how to harness and refine these mental skill sets, these mental faculties, to ultimately use them to manifest and create the life that you want, because they're a huge part of it. Next up, intuition. I've talked a lot about intuition in a lot of my videos, talking about how your intuition will come online through sitting in the fire with dark emotions and feeling the depth of your emotional pain. And there's truth in that. But that I'm just gonna table and put over here for a minute, because what we're talking about the intuition here is just something that you know, right? To come back to the definition, to know and understand something without intellectual reasoning. When you know just to make that right hand turned instead of the left, when you always go left. You don't know why, you're just trusting it in that moment. We could say intuition is our connection to source, our connection to God, following the divine wisdom without needing scientific studies. They're great. I'm not saying science isn't useful. I love science. I love learning. It's amazing. But knowing something is right for you, knowing what to do without needing an intellectual reasoning. Now, when you start to follow your intuition and you feel your intuition, you might feel like, I need to start going to the gym. Right? I need to start eating healthier. Like, that is an intuitive thought that comes to you and you're just like, this is the way to move forward. I have to do this. I want to be healthier. I want to thrive. I want to live a long and prosperous life. Beautiful. I'm with you. Let's fucking do this, right? So when your intuition starts to form and all these thoughts come to the surface and you're starting to follow it more, it will hit your baggage. It will hit your egoic structures. It will hit your mental patterns. Intuition doesn't mean you're going to be safe all the time. And let me rephrase. Intuition doesn't mean you're going to feel safe all the time. Intuition is going to sometimes get you to leap out of your comfort zone so that you can find what you're truly capable of and step into your fucking power, right? So intuition isn't just about knowing to make the right-hand turn versus the left-hand turn. It is the divine wisdom that we are all connected with. It is knowing to do something without needing intellectual reasoning, without needing validation. You just know in your heart that it's the right move. And yeah, it's gonna push you out of your comfort zone. And yeah, it's gonna come up against your baggage. And yeah, you're gonna be forced to see that shit. But ultimately, it's for the better. Next up, perception is one of the most fascinating of the mental faculties to me, because perception is arguably very malleable. We can perceive things through different lenses. We can all look at a cookie and we can see, well, it could, if it's a cookie that's highly processed, not made with love, it's a cookie that's highly processed. You buy wrapped up in a plastic package with seed oils and heavily processed GMO crops and whatnot. And you look at that, it can look at like poison, right? But you could also look at the cookie and it's, well, I mean, it's really sweet and it's delicious. It tastes good and it sends my taste buds on a frenzy, right? Perception is so fascinating because not only can 6 people offer 6 different perceptions on one specific situation, but we have the ability through the refinement of our perception, through the working on that internal skill, we have the ability to perceive our own situations differently, offer ourselves a different perspectives on the situation we're going through in the very moment, right? We can take the sensory information through the 5 senses, right? Maybe something didn't taste good right now, but in 7 years, your perception on the world changes and that actually tastes better, right? So perception is always changing and you have the ability to harness it and control it more, contain that skill set and use it to your advantage. No longer, like if you have patterns and stories of victimhood, and this is not from a place of judgment as I say this, because I also have stories in my mind running throughout the days of victimhood. And there are times where I need to listen to them. And then there are times when the stories feel heard, they feel seen. That part of me feels heard and seen. And now is the opportunity where with the skill set of perception, I can rework those stories. So have you ever done any kind of mindset work to rework your stories and reframe your stories so that you can empower yourself rather than be a victim of it? Sometimes it doesn't always work. So why is that? Well, that might be because your perception, or one, the story hasn't been seen, hasn't been heard, hasn't been loved. You haven't held space for that story yet. Once that happens, a clear mental window will form where you can now rewrite that story for yourself and see that, yeah, it fucking sucked. It wasn't fair what happened to you. It wasn't cool. That person did do you wrong. But man, did it make you stronger. It made you expand yourself. It showed you who you truly are in here, right? So perception, as we refine it, gives us the ability to rework our mental stories, no longer being a victim to them, but now using them to empower us and propel us even further in our lives. And last but not least, reason, and I need to reason with myself to drink some more water. Now, when we talk about reason, again, it's the ability to think logically, analyze, and form opinions based on our rational thought. Now, reason and logic is very interesting because it's very, just like perception, it's very malleable. Our logic comes from the neurological hardware that we have in our brain. And that neurological hardware is the filter through which we see the world. And so through that filter, we form our logic, right? Now, the reason I share all of this is because if you grew up, as an example, if you grew up in a family, in an environment, in a household, wherever, where there was a lot of emotionally immature adults, and so they never taught you how to emotionally regulate. And by association, you were forced to grow up a little bit sooner, learning how to put your emotions on the back burner to logic. So if you grew up in that type of environment, as you get older, you step into this journey, this holistic wellness journey where you want to get healthier and you want to heal your mind, you want to heal your body, you want to heal yourself emotionally. But the thing that keeps getting in the way is every time you have an emotion, a big emotion rises up, you were neurologically programmed, unintentionally maybe, by your parents, by the adults in your life, by the school system, to push your emotions to the side, right? And so now, when those emotions arise on this healing journey, they come up and you push them back down with rational thinking, with logic, right? Your coworker does something that upsets you. It triggers an old wound. Now, you can rationally realize that they weren't intentionally trying to hurt you and push the emotion back down. But just for a moment, and you don't have to take this out on anybody to experience, just like when you're in meditation, sit down and give yourself permission to feel and say whatever you want to feel and say to the person. Right now, we're pulling the imagination into this. Like, oh, that person's a piece of shit. They shouldn't have done that to me. That was wrong. That was like whatever it is. Like, give yourself permission for that story to just play out for a minute and let it run its course instead of pushing the emotion down. Because reason and logic is great. Reason gives us the ability to not be overreactive, to not go out there and kill a bunch of people, to not do drastic things. And there's a level of that that's very important for society, right? And then there's a level of that can really hinder our spiritual growth, that can really hinder our emotional healing. And again, this is where we gotta refine and work these skills. Like, your reasoning, your ability to reason with yourself comes from your logic. Your logic comes from your filter on the world, that comes from the neurological hardware that you were programmed with, whether it came from childhood, whether it came from the way you've been living your adult life, or the changes you've been making, no matter what all that adds up to be. That is the filter through which your logic is formed and how you use reason. Now, we have to begin to rework those things. See the world in a different lens so that our reason doesn't hinder us, that we don't use it as a weapon against us, right? All of our mental faculties can either be a tool to expand our consciousness, expand our awareness, and live better lives, or it can be a tool that really hurts us. It causes more pain and suffering when we do not harness the capacity of our mental faculties. I hope this video has helped you expand your consciousness through the lens of your mental faculties. If you took anything in this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.